GM.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning. I'm good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I don't know what I ate yesterday, but I'm feeling it today. Wow.
Yeah.
That's as much as I will say about that.
It happens.
Shit happens, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday.
That's how they teach kids how to spell. Wednesday is saying pronounce it Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
English language, silent D.
Yes. Got to be careful of that silent D. They'll sneak up on you.
All right, that's not where I was going with that, but I set you up for it. Yeah,
out of pocket.
Oh, out of pocket counters up to 2 today already.
Oh, P-E.
GM guys, Chipper, Ashtray, James, blah blah, Scottish guy. Good to see you all back.
Ashtray, my man. This guy aped the lemon bottom. He was sitting on it, you know. Nice. Oh yeah. Ashtray, yeah. He was shot.
Lemons are still in play. Everyone was fading the lemons. They're not dead. Chipper, rocking his lemon. Blah blah, rocking the sick kaiju.
Oh, did Sandbox just buy Dower Darcel? Dower Darcel. Very nice.
Sandbox game just bought 11 of them. Man, yeah, they. Mm-hmm. There's a project that I have a little bit of a. You guys told me. You said look at it. I looked at it. I didn't look at it enough.
That's my Titan's favorite NFT collection. Dower Darcel.
They got 8.83. They were up over 1/8. Still pretty incredible. GM Bomber.
Yeah, a little consolidation down to 0.7, but that partnership with Colette, very fancy, very nice. Colette of Paris, you uncultured swines out there who don't know. That's a big deal. Big deal. They like the eggs, they like the eyes. Woo! Keep on topping up that lemon bag. Good for you, Ashtray.
Dekenza is here a lot earlier than he normally is. Normally he rolls in right around the time where I'm saying it's about time to wrap it up.
Would you like a drum roll?
No, hold on. Something I'm not sure happened. Are you guys still seeing stuff? Everyone's good?
I see chat, you.
So I mean, you for once, that's good. No issues?
Yeah,
Did you restart your computer?
No. Restart my. It's a Mac. I know. Look, it's cute that you gave me that advice. I know. Do you want me to defrag it next to see if that helps?
You probably should.
Macs don't defrag. There's no defragging. No, they don't defrag. I just
figured they did because you knew what defragging was.
No, I just remember back in the day on Windows, like when your shit wasn't working, Dad would always be like, defrag it. Yeah. Defrag the Windows.
Flipped your loser club at 0.7. Thanks for the cook, guys. Hey, fuck. Nice win. Solid win, my dude. All right. Yeah, no, as long as you guys can hear me and see me, I just saw the viewer count was 0, which I know is not true. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't go offline. Sing it.
Love me, feel me. Now you ready for the drum roll? Can you?
I'm ready.
Again?
We're good. GM, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday, March 23rd edition of the AM show, hosted live on YouTube and Twitch TV. It's Hump Day. I am your host, R2DGen, and I am joined with me, as always, by FMC.
Hey now.
Hey now. You slow rolled me with the hey now. I got rugged. What the hell is up, DGens? It is we're halfway through the week. We are almost through March pretty incredibly. I'm starting to, lose track of the time here. It's pretty ridiculous that we're about to be going into the 4th month of the year, but typically that means that maybe some good times are just around the corner, and things are looking like they could be shaping up that way. Just going to bring up the crypto market right now. Cooled off a little bit, but not a whole lot. Nothing noteworthy. Bitcoin sitting at $42,000 this morning. ETH dipped slightly below $3,000, sitting at 29.56, down about 2% on the day. But crypto still having a hell of a week. The S&P is still having a great week. You mentioned yesterday that consolidation, especially at these levels, are healthy, and that's what we're seeing. What are we going through right now?
We saw a mean reversion snapback short covering rally that was very, very that a lot of people didn't see coming, which is why I think it went further than people thought. We've now run up into basically the last resistance there is. Now, we will likely pause here. I don't think we would just keep running through it. But we're not even overbought yet. We were so oversold on the relative strength indicators in the traditional market and stocks that even now, after this snapback rally to 4,500, we're basically at, we're not even close to overbought on the RSI. So there's actually room to go. Consolidation here would be healthiest. And what does this mean for crypto and spot? Well, we've seen ETH firming up. Itself seems to be consolidating for a move much higher here. So if we don't get any type of unforeseen macro events, now whether that's related to inflation and the Fed, whether that's related to geopolitical issues with Russia and Ukraine, as long as those things are, and by all measures, both of those things seem to be de-escalating a bit, at least in the eyes of the media, which is kind of driving the narrative here. So as long as nothing unforeseen happens, I would just expect some sideways consolidation this week. It's options expiration, okay? And normally, if we are rallying into OPEX, then the beginning of the week is bullish and the latter half of the week is bearish. Now, I don't expect it to be bearish per se. I would just think exactly what you're seeing right now. We see a pullback, hopefully down to 4,400 by Friday. We see some consolidation, and we make a break for 4,500 plus. That, I think, would drag both Bitcoin and ETH as well above the resistance that they have been having issues at, which I know is 3,200 on ETH, and I don't know what it is on Bitcoin as I don't watch the chart, but I think it's like 46K or something like that.
I think we're in that ballpark. Yeah. Yesterday there was an article saying that, or at least reasoning that Bitcoin and ETH were going through a pretty good pump based on the Goldman Sachs news that we talked yesterday, which is obviously a big deal. But I do still think that it's more tied to the larger grand scheme of things with the S&P and the macro news, kind of at least the news cycle taking a little bit of a step back from what's going on over there. Obviously, still issues. Do you think that the Goldman Sachs had anything to do with it, or is that just a reverse or a hindsight looking kind of narrative?
So, well, I think that's a fundamental narrative, right? And short-term action is never driven by fundamentals. Fundamentals take time to play out, and short-term action is driven by market mechanics, like literal under the hood market mechanics, and buy, sell, demand on a daily basis, and it's very hard to tell. Right. But when we're talking about these type of fundamental changes and how the industry is acting, it plays out over a long time, but it's very, very bullish. And it's what puts into place the moves for the big rally, we think. I mean, between ETH2 now rumored to come this year, and I know it's a running meme, but I really don't think they would be talking about it if it wasn't.
Not in the way that they're talking about it, for
in
sure.
The way, yeah, of course. In the way that they're talking about it, the technicals of the chart, firming up, the bullish season. I mean, everything is in place here. So it's just about letting it do what it needs to do now and seeing if anything unforeseen happens. So you always have, nothing is guaranteed, and there is still a lot of wild cards out there. So you're on watch for that. But all that said, everything is set up here for a big move. Now, I guess the ramification is, what does that mean for NFTs? Because if spot really breaks above 3,200 and makes its way to 4K, NFTs will likely pause. I don't know how much they'll pull back. We just went through a crazy bearish period in NFTs. It would be hard for me to see them getting back there, though I could see them pausing. At the same time, we have an insane NFT news cycle on deck with Yuga Labs, with outside Web 2 traditional corporations moving into Web 3. And what happened back in December when Nike came in? All that Nike money rained down on people that could then turn around and ape new projects like Alien Friends or Lemons or all these things that eventually mooned over the next couple months. And that may be enough of a counterweight to anything, to ETH going up. And I mean, I talk about it a lot, whether it's on Spaces on a daily basis, whether it's on this show, that the idea that the nominal dollar value of ETH is going to affect NFTs is ridiculous. On a very short-term basis, it's been true for about 8 months. That's an 8-month window where you guys think it's the rule.
I think there's also the opportunity, if the NFT news cycle continues the way it does, we start to see some of the volume come back in, but more importantly, the outside money come back in. There could be a situation where ETH is actually running because of NFTs, right?
Period.
Because the flow of it is fiat to ETH into NFTs. Now, that ETH to NFT is more of a direct swap, right? Like 10 ETH goes to the person that sold it, NFT goes to the person that bought it. What that person does with the 10 ETH will likely be maybe cash a little bit out, but probably buy more NFTs, as we see there. Like a lot of that money, if it's not going to a project that's rugging, is staying within the ecosystem, and people are trading, building out their portfolios and whatnot. But that was 10 ETH of buy pressure that hit the crypto market, that flowed into it. And that 10 ETH still exists, and it's still floating around the NFT market, and isn't necessarily being reciprocated as sell pressure back on the crypto market. So if we continue our news cycle, if we continue to see volume increase, there will become a point where if NFTs are running, ETH is probably going to be having a run because of it too, not completely mutually exclusive.
There are only two reasons to buy ETH right now, and that's because you're speculating on the price of ETH, or you want to buy NFTs. You're not buying ETH to do anything else at this point. And DeFi, for all intents and purposes, is dead. And the reason outside money would buy ETH at this point is to get into NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the little bit of DeFi that's remaining, we've talked about this before too, is more being participated in the NFT market through staking yields, and these kind of games that we've been talking about a lot.
You know the astronaut meme, where one astronaut has the gun pointed at
Always
the other
has
one?
been.
Yeah, well, the world is NFTs, the astronaut is DeFi, and the guy with the gun is telling him. Always has been.
Mm-hmm. We are going to talk more about the NFT news cycle once we get a couple of news articles out of the way. Brought these up because some of them are pretty exciting, actually. We see senators, politicians talk about crypto all the time. It's always exciting to hear one talk about it in a good way. Typically, the Republicans are a little bit more pro-crypto. Democrats are anti-crypto. I'm not going to completely blanket that statement, but the Wyoming senator, I guess I kind of did, but Wyoming senator crypto bill to receive Democratic support, says source. A major piece of crypto legislation from Senator Cythia Lummis is poised to attract Democratic co-sponsors. So this is going to be potentially a bipartisan supported legislation. That's always good. It's nice to see that people are reaching across the aisle and, trying to put some good legislation out there. One of the things that I saw in this article that actually made me really excited about it, though, and there could be, maybe some ramifications in NFTs as well for it, is I scrolled up and now I lost my spot. There it is. The law would also likely the law also likely would create a so-called de minimis exemption for crypto transactions of a few $100s or less, a measure that would mean people could use crypto for small purchases or transfers without triggering tax obligations. Now, this is actually a really big deal, especially if it could be applied to NFTs. If you could say that, I bought this NFT for $200, $300, and now you're not getting taxed, either a short or long-term capital gains tax on the value of ETH when you make that purchase, that could have a big deal. But it also lessens the burden of actually wanting to spend your crypto. I know a lot of people say, hold your crypto. Why would you ever sell it? Why would you ever, why would you ever use it? But as we get more and more normal people in the space, and they start to maybe make some money trading NFTs or just off the speculative assets and whatnot, yeah, maybe buying a pair of shoes with your Bitcoin or ETH isn't going to be seen as a big deal. A lot of people typically don't do it because, again, you're triggering a tax obligation at the point of sale. I think this could be some really bullish news, especially with what other things that could come in this, if they're looking on it in a positive light.
Yeah. I don't know. I heard tax-free crypto. I'm in. I would sign this bill tomorrow as president of the United States. Hell, I'd make it more expansive. I'm for this. I am for this person. I would vote her back into the office. I'm for the state of Wyoming. I think it's a beautiful state.
Never been.
And yes, I have. Yellowstone National Park is there. I have camped there. I have driven through the state. It's very beautiful. They gorgeous. We love Wyoming. We love this person. We love their legislation.
Definitely something to watch out for. I mean, a lot of times legislation and regulation kind of is met
beautiful, beautiful punim.
Is often met with like this, like, we don't want it and stuff. But I mean, it's going to come. It might as well be favorable if it does, right? It just is what it is.
Wonder what they had to do to get the Democrats to submit. Guys, it's a midterm this year, and traditionally, midterms are not kind to the new incumbent, the new person who has just come into office. That party tends to do poorly. We saw it with the Democrats when Trump won in his first midterms. It was the blue wave or whatever the hell they called it. Because what happens is one side loses. We talk about it. The two greatest emotions are FUD and FOMO. Okay, this is what drives a trend. This is what drives price. Now, when you lose an election, the FUD that your side creates gets you energized. You're pumped for that midterm. You're there. The people who won, they're fat. They're feasting. Life is good. They're making memes. They're shitting on you. They're having a grand old time. They don't have time to go out and vote. They just won. All right. It's all these angry people who are fudding whatever's going on that have all the energy to go out and vote. So, interesting year. There's going to be a lot of interesting negotiations behind closed doors, back and forth, legislation passing, and hopefully crypto is the beneficiary. I will give you an example. In New York, before cannabis was legalized, and boy, was it legalized hard. It was legalized.
They legalized the shit out of that.
They legalized the shit out of it. Before they did that, it was going to be quite strict, and the regulations were going to be plentiful as far as how cannabis was going to be treated in New York. They were you couldn't smoke in public, you couldn't grow in your house, you could only possess 7/8 of an ounce. All these restrictions that would have essentially been the same as decriminalization, except they would have allowed us to buy extremely bad taxed up weed in the store. That would have basically been the only difference. Well, lo and behold, our governor got himself in a little snafu with some employees that he may have made advances to. And every legislator and lobbyist had him over a barrel. And the cannabis industry basically walked in there and got every single thing on their list checked off. In New York, you can possess up to 5 pounds of cannabis.
That's a lot.
You may grow up to 6 plants per person in your house. You may smoke cannabis in public. You may exchange cannabis with other people as long as there's no money. involved. These are the loosest laws in the world, not in the country, not in the state. These are the loosest laws in the world. So you can see how when I don't even know how we got off on that tangent.
You were talking about the midterms and making deals.
I see.
And stuff,
I
right?
see. I see what happened there.
It always goes back to the marijuana. No, I'm just okay, we will move on. Crypto.com revealed as sponsor for FIFA World Cup 2022. I feel like this is something we end up talking about a lot, but man, Crypto.com and FTX are like really, really, really trying to close some ground between Coinbase and the success that they've had with just absolute marketing blitz. You want to talk about the biggest event in the world? It is the FIFA World Cup. The viewership numbers are like none other. This is going to, I mean, Crypto.com is just going to be plastered everywhere, all over the world. It'd be interesting to see how their ads kind of look and whatnot, especially just, you know, when you're talking about the whole world, you're talking about a large portion of it being unbanked and the opportunity that crypto kind of creates for them. And it's not necessarily about the idea that they should be betting on speculative assets, but actually just having agency over their money in a lot of those countries. So it's going to be interesting to see what the viewership numbers are on this coming out of COVID, and obviously a lot of exposure for Crypto.com. First, the Staples Center has been renamed to it. You see the ads for it on the Super Bowl, et cetera, and now the World Cup.
Yeah. World Cup's in Qatar this year, and it, as you said, it's the most watched broadcast ever in the world, though it happens once every 4 years. We saw the Staples Center change into Crypto.com Arena. Huge.
Yeah, this is again, we'll just watch it, but it's definitely newsworthy that the FIFA's kind of signing.
Do we know what the
love that company or hate it?
Do we know what the market share of FTX or Crypto.com is versus Coinbase?
No, but it would be interesting to look that up. I would assume you would use that metric with like volume traded on it, right? Like that would be what you're looking for.
Well, I mean, the other two aren't publicly traded, so I guess we wouldn't get to see what their revenues are, but yeah, no, volume traded on exchange.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you know what? I'll look that up in a second here. Eye scanning crypto project WORLDCOIN set for $100 million raise, says report. The funds could be a sight for sore eyes for the project, no pun intended, which recently paused some operations. This is an interesting project, and it's one of it's kind of an intriguing way of combating KYC in this space. Obviously, Yuga Labs took a little bit of a hit for their KYC on the site that they put up before ApeCoin was even announced that it was launching, or sorry, that they were launching it a couple days later. Yuga obviously doing quite all right with the launch of ApeCoin and whatnot, but KYC is always a hotly contested topic in this space. You know, the right and the demand for a pseudonymous personality is always viewed upon very favorably, and KYC sometimes I guess is a necessary evil, especially if you want to cash out your crypto, but it's not looked upon very well. This project is kind of interesting because it's going to be using eye scanning technology, but rather than associating it with an identity, it will just verify the fact that that particular iris that it has scanned has not been used in conjunction with anything else in the project. So it is more of like just setting up for like an individual thing. Like if I wanted to sign up for, say, the MetaMask airdrop, and I don't want to KYC anything in terms of that, there's potential that something like this would be able to say, okay, you're going to scan your iris, the hash and the information based on that iris will not be associated with anything in particular, but it will just be verified that, you know, you are one of one, and you can't sign up, you know, 100 different wallets to try and capitalize on it. So whether or not this is the answer, I'm not sure. Edward Snowden, not overly fond of the idea of cataloging and tracking the use of eye scanning, which is also fair because, you know, we always like to have a pie in the sky idea of what can happen, but a lot of times this information gets misused. But interesting to see the different ways that people are trying to combat the need for KYC. So.
China's already using artificial intelligence and facial recognition in their surveillance cameras that they have all over the streets and stuff like that. So I could see why Snowden would be concerned. But yeah, I can imagine that very soon there will be a black market or dark website that pops up where people have collected the irises of, rural populations that maybe don't have access to the internet that can lend their irises out for multi-sig signups and all the fun stuff. So expect that on the dark web any day now. This becomes popular.
I don't think that this in particular is the answer, but it is an interesting concept to see that, people are trying to do a legitimate workaround to KYC. Whether or not this is it, I'm not sure, but pretty incredible that they were able to raise $100 million for $3 billion valuation. And you got to wonder maybe why some people are throwing so much money at it. Speaking of the, facial recognition and face tracking, one of the malls in Canada, one of the groups of malls in Canada got busted for using facial recognition on their security cam software to track people and their spending habits. And it was a pretty fucking big deal here, actually. So yeah. Dickens is saying sounds like Minority Report. Yeah, it really does. The scene in that movie where he gets his eyes swapped out to bypass the security. Lovely. Yeah. Have you seen that movie? Great movie.
I have. I referenced it the other day.
Oh, did you?
When somebody tried to accuse somebody of something that they thought of in their head. I said, this isn't fucking Minority Report. You can't get arrested for a crime you didn't commit yet. Everybody sit down.
Yeah. Yeah. Great movie. Terrifying concepts.
No one understood the reference, but I thought it was funny.
I'm going to watch that movie again. And starring Tom Brady, of course, too.
You mean Vitalik? Terran? Vitalik.
Andreessen Horowitz, Horowitz, yeah.
Horowitz.
Got the accent going. I combined two words there. Horowitz vet. Oh my God. Katie Haun raises 1.5 billion.
Together, man.
Yeah, no shit. A hot mess here. $1.5 billion for Web3 fund. We're going to talk about A16Z in a second here. She stepped down from her position there last year and is forming a Web3 centric fund. She's raised $1.5 billion from names all across the industry, including Andreessen Horowitz. And she will be allocating $500 million for early stage ventures, and the full extra $1 billion is set aside for companies looking to accelerate their growth. The largest debut venture fund ever raised by a solo female founding partner. All I saw with this is just money coming in. Like any way, shape, or form that people can get exposure to these markets without actually owning the crypto is people are throwing money at it left, right, and center.
VCs and hedge funds are about to make you whole. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready.
Yeah, we've basically front run all of them, right? So,
yeah.
Moving on to Andreessen Horowitz, Bored Ape and CryptoPunk NFT owners Yuga Labs. Boy, that sounds weird to say when you start to read it out. Yuga Labs raises $450 million at a $4 billion valuation. Now valued in the billions, Yuga Labs also confirmed plans to launch the other side, a Web3 MMO RPG metaverse with NFTs. We already knew that. But yeah, they closed their funding round, $450 million. There's some interesting things going on here too. First, the list of big name investors is absolutely massive. They also have to be Bored Ape holders to be able to have access into investing in Yuga Labs. I would say, why wouldn't you be? But of course, it is a fun and interesting stipulation. We talk about things being membership cards into communities and whatnot, and using the Bored Apes as basically a membership pass to be able to invest in Yuga Labs is pretty fascinating itself. But $450 million, they're going to have some serious money to deploy. I would definitely be looking for them to start purchasing up more of these NFT brands that they were maybe hinting at in their other side video. And yeah, did you see the list of investors? We talked a little bit about it in the pre-show.
I did see the list of investors. One of them jumped out to me because we know A16 is crypto focused, and a lot of these VCs take risks on stuff like Google Ventures was on the list. Okay, I don't think there is a company more representative of Web 2 than Google. I would even say more than Apple. Okay, because while Apple makes the devices that we use, Google represent, what is Web.2? It's advertising. That's what Web.2 was built on, right? That's what we're talking about with 2.0. All right, this is a sign, not just that Yuga Labs is legit and has the potential that we all think it has, because it does. This is a sign that Web 2 is acknowledging Web 3 is threatening certain aspects of its business model, and eventually every aspect of its business model. And I think you cannot deny how Yuga Labs has grown to take over NFTs as a whole, symbolized by them purchasing Punk's IP. It's still not reverberating how big that is. This is going to, again, I think, rain down upon all of the NFT market, as this $450 million is largely going to be spent padding the assets of Yuga Labs. They're going to buy the IP for more collections. They're going to incorporate it into everything that they do. And we are yet to see who is going to decide to compete with Yuga Labs. Because if you think everybody's just going to lay down at the knee and bend over for Yuga, it's not going to happen. Other companies are going to say, you know what, let's go up against them, because there's always room for multiple competitors. And there's always going to be people who dislike the ape culture, what Yuga stands for, the man, the oppressor, the big, the dark side, whatever you want to call it, the Yankees. Like, there's always going to be people who want to root for the underdog or be part of something smaller and more intimate. And we are yet to see who is going to decide to come into that. Not only that, and I've heard speculation it could be Kongs and Sandbox, which again is very weird because Animoca is making all these, is involved in making all. So
they're pitching shovels right now, and they're just fucking loving life. They're like, yeah, you compete against each other, and they're like, just
right. The Chinese wall that must exist at Animoca between the factions they're building these things is very, if you don't know what that is, that's a term in the legal industry for what lawyers have to do if there are separate parts of the firm working on conflicts of interest. They have to create what's called a Chinese wall, where they literally can't even, talk with each other. There's like laws and rules about whether they can talk with it. So we will see. I think the other thing you look at is it comes from the other angle of what if a Disney decides to say, okay, Yuga, you're cute. Yeah, very cute. I see what you're doing
That's a nice
here.
$4 billion
Yeah. Cute little $4 billion
nice.
valuation.
Rounding error.
Whapa! Then Disney could come in and buy Augmented Labs and, 5 other huge properties within NFTs and say, all right, we're going to compete with you now. Oh, and check out this IP we have back here. Hey, you think you like that? Is Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse? Yeah, Star Wars?
Yeah,
right. So
we're so used to just being everything bored apes, and to us it kind of is. But I mean, this IP, while it's well on its way into international fame and recognition, is nothing compared to traditional IPs like the Marvel and the Disney characters.
No, I am not saying that's what Disney is going to do. I am speculating. That, who I actually think is a much better fit is Microsoft. I actually think Augmented is a much better target for Microsoft. It feels like it fits into the Xbox Minecraft gamer brand a little better than like the Pixar, Toy Story, haha, dee Mickey Mouse brand, so to say, because kaijus are a little edgier. Right. But I think that no matter what you think of Yuga Labs, you have to love them for what they're about to cause in this entire industry. And that would be massive amounts of M&A, massive amounts of money coming back in.
You're getting fleeced right now.
Geez. Yeah. So.
Well, no, I mean, they basically started an arms race here, right? Like, if anybody is thinking about entering NFTs, Web3, and trying to stake their claim to any amount of the territory, Yuga Labs is building a moat right now. And, you know, these traditional companies, particularly music companies, but we've also seen it in you know, movie enterprises and stuff like that. They've gotten burned in the past by waiting for too long, or assuming things are going to be a fad, assuming Netflix is going to be a fad, or assuming, you know, streaming music is just going to come and go, and that's not going to be the way things go. They are not going to sit idly by now, especially when the cost to deploy capital at this point is much less than it will be in 5 years, right? Like,
right.
Disney could throw $4 billion at something without batting an eyelash. You know, Apple can throw $10 billion, or Facebook could throw $10 billion a year at something, and you know, they'll barely even feel it. But in 5 years' time, if they let that moat grow too big around these other companies, I mean, it becomes a much bigger uphill battle. Now we're talking about maybe $100 billion to start scooping up that market share and whatnot. So yeah, I don't think that these brands are just going to sit by and say NFTs are a fad, NFTs are a trend. Even if they believe that, they're going to hedge their bets and participate in it. And if it goes to zero, again, we said it's a rounding error. They will move on. They will be okay. But they're not going to let the spiral out of control to the point where they are going to be picking up the pieces of their company.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I love thinking about how an entertainment brand would approach this, and of course, it's because I'm thinking about my bags and how I would like them to be swept in some massive Disney broom. But you know, if you were, let's say, all right, Disney targets some random collections, like we want to make a TV show out of this. Are you going to go through the trouble of like crafting 800 contracts with a bunch of random people who bought NFTs and da-da-da? Or are you going to sweep every NFT that exists on the floor up so that you have the IP, all these characters you can use easily? And yeah, maybe you'll license, you know, 2 or 3 of them for both PR purposes and because you need like a special one that looks a certain way that somebody owned or whatever. But man, yeah, I could see these media companies just absolutely demolishing floors in what, like, we think we've seen volume, man. Like, I look at stocks, I see the amount of volume. I don't think we even know. And like, do you know what 10,000 shares in a company would mean? Do you know how much each share of a fucking 4 billion, you know, like this is a very interesting time in the market. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Well, it is too. And I mean, you want to talk about the biggest, you know, you go to the stock market and see how many, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars are traded, you know, daily on that, if not more. Looking back yesterday, just at the crypto market alone, and you talk about just Bitcoin and just Ethereum, $40 billion in volume traded in there. And this is like a particularly slow-ish time. Like, sure, it went on a little bit of run at the early days, but I mean, we've seen volume spikes of hundreds of billions of dollars in volume traded in the course of 24 hours. If fractions of that and start to enter NFTs, where we are right now, it's completely off to the races. And once that happens, there's no going back, right? Like, it's just, we're going to take a huge step forward into like an upper echelon of volume and floor prices, especially on a lot of these existing legacy projects that deserve it.
The people that invested in Yuga are venture capitalists. Understand that they are not looking for 5x. They are not looking for 10x. Okay. They invested at a $4 billion valuation. They're looking.
They believe Yuga is going to be $100 billion company.
So, strap in, motherfuckers.
That's right. Yep. Also, pretty interesting to see on this list. Colin Kaepernick joined the Bored Ape Club and is an investor in Yuga. If anybody wants to let Ryder Rips know if that might be beneficial for him, so he can move on with his life. I also did pull up A16Z's Twitter profile because they had their Bored Ape in there. And they have since changed it back. So I guess that was a short 24-hour nod of approval before putting their logo back on there. But I thought that was very exciting for a brief period of time. This nice looking astronaut one was one that they bought, I guess, about 7 months ago for 42 ETH. So not quite the 100x that they normally look for on their investments, but also doing quite well. Other notable people on this list of investors, Animoca Brands, that makes sense, FTX, MoonPay, Sandbox, Tiger Global, Adidas, Mark Cuban, Vayner, Colin Kaepernick, Snoop Dogg, Shaq, Des Bryant, Timbaland, Steve Aoki, Blau. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Samsung. Like, you want to talk about combined marketing power if these guys ever, want to start pushing their bags, which they do like to do. There's a lot of wide-reaching celebrities and companies in this. It is a pretty spectacular list.
Yeah, definitely. And I completely agree with you, Mike. I think that you're going to see companies start to do that, but I think you're going to see both. I think that anytime a company, a large corporation moves into an industry, they don't just say, we're going to come in and do it our way, because you can fit. There's a lot of risk in doing that. I think they will do both. I think
reputationally.
Yeah, well, no, it's not even reputationally. It's also, there's so much operational risk in taking on a brand new industry. You just don't know how it works. All right. I don't, Disney is a very, very smart company and they understand their competencies. But when they want to get into the metaverse, when they want to get into NFTs, they still have to hire outside advisors and consultants. They don't know what's going on. And one of the best ways to understand, like, look at what Microsoft does. Anytime somebody starts threatening its business model, it buys them. I mean, that was the big thing about Bill Gates, was the meme in the 90s, right? That Microsoft would literally just come in. That's why they were accused of being a monopoly. They would just come in and buy anyone that threatened their business model. So I think you will see both. I think you would see a company like Disney come in and buy a few choice properties. And I also think you would see them develop out their own metaverse. But understand, Mike, how protective these companies are going to be of it. These are cash cows for them. Is there any reason for them to risk that IP on something like NFTs right now, which is controversial? You would much more likely dip your toe in with something that's out there and already exists. So there's like I think you're correct. I just think there's also a few variables and angles to it as well.
Yeah, Dickenza actually saying, acquiring a stabilized energized community might be easier. And it is absolutely true. And it is the reason why you see companies like Apple, Apple does it too. Microsoft, Google, Facebook, like they buy existing companies, even though they could just throw a bunch of money at something and make it easier. It's a lot easier to absorb not only that company, the work that they've done, the employees that have been working on it, but also the community that already forms around it. So, I mean, it's 100% true. And, Disney buying a NFT brand would be a fantastic way for them to dip their feet in. You start to hire people that are managing that community, developing the project. They start to get a feel for it. They start to understand what NFTs are. They have a direct access to the community and whatnot. And you'll get there. Microsoft's connection to NFT worlds and potentially Critters is very, very strong too.
Did they invest in NFT worlds, Microsoft? Did I hear that?
I was going to say not publicly, but I guess they're a publicly traded company, so they would have to disclose that.
They'd have to declare.
They are in the Discord, and they are in active communication with the teams, just so that the project doesn't overstep its bounds in Microsoft's TOS. So what it sounds like is that they are actively trying to avoid a situation in which they have to kill the project. You know what I mean? Which is incredibly bullish for all of these Minecraft projects. And I know we're seeing a ton of them pop up to varying degrees of success. Obviously, we're bullish on Critters. Obviously, we're bullish on NFT worlds. But the fact that Microsoft is willing to foster and help these teams and communities working on this without any financial stake involved in it is a really impressive thing too.
Yeah. And I actually think Chris is making a fabulous point here, that a great way for Disney to get exposure would be buying just a Web 2 company like Time Studios. As we know, look at what they're doing with Robotos, and Smiles, and now Toy Boogers. And that would essentially make Cool Cats a Disney property as well, because while nothing specific has been announced, that Time has made Cool Cats the official partner of Time Magazine and Time Incorporated. Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. I will give you daps when that comes true. That sounds like a good prediction.
For those of you who don't know, Chris is incredible at his research and diligence and stuff like that. I also wanted to give him a shout out with the Benzinga NFT Madness bracket. Did you see this?
No.
Yeah, he dropped it in the DGen dojo, but it's out there. We posted it on the AlphaMint Twitter. I did a little video for it, but yeah, it's in, instead of March Madness, they did NFT Madness, and it's a fan voted thing where you get they pit all the different projects against each other. So round 1 is going on. Oh, it's done. I'm gonna have to go check out the results of it. I'll pull it up tomorrow. I forgot to log in on a burner account to check it out. So but yeah, you can go vote on it, Chris. If you want to post the link to it in chat there, you're more than welcome to. But it was a lot of fun. It's cool. I think I think Azuki is shaping up to maybe do some damage. They're looking for a matchup in Yuga Labs. I think in the either the round of 8 or the round of 16. But Bored Apes. But I think Azuki is a pretty rabid community that is very protective, and I think they'll put some damage in there. Starcatchers was beating Meebits yesterday too, which was very impressive.
Starcatchers was doing
they were
what?
beating Meebits in the voting.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, they're doing some work in there too. Yeah, so a lot of fun. Go check it out. It's cool. Let's bring up EtherOrcs. I know we talk about EtherOrcs a lot on the show, but I mean, fucking crazy, man. Like,
I was just thinking to myself, does Meebits have a community or just kind of disgruntled holders?
That's just
disgruntled
right?
Punk holders. I'm not sure if that community, at least Starcatchers, has a bunch of loopy stars out there doing things.
Yeah, I just always picture the Yuga Labs, people just voting in droves to do it. But yeah, so definitely.
Company-wide notice goes out. Yeah, go vote in this pool. Save our bags.
That's 51% over Meebits, 49%. That's pretty.
I'll admit, I was surprised to wake up to this orc floor this morning of 3. I like it when my net worth goes up that much overnight.
Yeah, rightfully so. This person here, this is through Genie, so you can't really see it, and then it's in the staking contract. But
what's the name?
I believe
it's just numbers.
Who it be? El Brojo.
El Brojo.
I think now might be the biggest orc holder in the game right now. But just going absolutely crazy on the floor.
Before that, I think Blumenthal was the largest orc.
Well, they have it on the orc stats site too, don't they? The biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Analytics.
Man, I haven't logged on in days. It's the raids are so long now. They need to do so. Can the devs do something? Oh, would you stop refreshing the floors for fuck's sake?
Yeah. I did it again.
Just a dagger to my net worth every time.
Yeah. I pressed the refresh button and free market loses thousands of dollars. Look at this big green candle on Zug there, though. So
Zug. Well, and shout out to Lucas, who basically called the price of Zug to the penny, saying when we were at $1.60 last week that it would fall to 80 cents. It fell to 80 cents on the nose. Then we got Zug staking. All right. So now you get Zug rewards, sushi rewards, and Matic rewards for staking in the LP pool. The orcs are encouraging the community to stake. Okay, we want the liquidity to get up. Right now, the total liquidity in the pool is $462,000. Over $150,000 has been added into the LP. You saw a major orc sweep. And we were literally talking about it yesterday on the show. It couldn't have been better timing, where I was saying, just because orcs are falling out of the ranking, it should not be considered bearish. And just because RP is ripping to the top doesn't mean you necessarily rush out and go buy. And we come in today and look at what happened. That spread is sandwiched.
Well,
now
$1.28, you know, a solid 20, what were we would say $1 yesterday, so 28% increase.
It was 80 cents yesterday.
Oh, okay. So yeah, a 50% increase. I mean, that's going to move it up the power rankings that we were talking about yesterday with basically a flick of the wrist, right?
I can't wait to see crypto because yesterday, even you know, it's funny because if the asset price of the underlying yield instrument goes up a lot, it will also knock you out of the top rank. Because remember, this is a yield ranking, so it's about how much yield you're making relative to your investment. When RP rallied to like 1.4 on the heroes or whatever yesterday, it knocked them out of the top, I think top 2, because now the underlying asset was so much for a new player to go in and buy. The yield was not better than some of the other things. So I thought that was a funny effect yesterday. But yeah, the one issue, or I wouldn't say issue, but the one thing people complaining weren't thinking about. And look, if you're a straight Zug farmer and you were planning to farm Zug the last couple of weeks, this sucked. There's no two ways around it. This fucked Zug farmers for the last couple of weeks. But if you were somebody new looking to get into orcs, you literally may have never had this. This may never come again because these guys learn from their mistakes very quickly. I'm not sure they will allow such a big imbalance again in subsequent phases. And that may have been it. That may have been your chance to get into orcs cheap. At this point, maybe you buy a busted rogue to get in cheap. I think it's a 0.8 floor on the busted rogues right now. But man, Gen sitting there at 2.2 just because Zug had a temporary dip to 80. And look, for better or for worse, these things track the Zug price right
That's
now,
right,
right? You know, so it's you're not. I mean, I saw people paper handing these things that I just bought them like a week and a half ago. Like, oh, the yield isn't there, so I need to now. It's like we think about and talk about this in NFTs all the time, flipping versus holding or immediate returns. Like I bought this and it's not doing what I expected 2 days later. I mean, that is like not the way traditional markets work. I don't think it's the way people should be approaching NFTs. And like I said, I'm not sure you'll ever see an opportunity or imbalance like that again in orcs, and you may, but that was a very, very good entry there on Genesis at 2.2, especially with land bearing down on us now, but a couple phases away. So,
yeah, I mean, so P2E games have to have a token to kind of fund their ecosystem and work and create liquidity pools and incentives and all of that stuff. So the nature of a token has to exist for these things. But as you said, they do get linked to the price of the token rather than the other way around. Sometimes you'll see the price of the token go up if somebody like this starts sweeping the floors of Orcs, because the market wants to find that parity in between like a yield and whatnot. But it is absolutely a perilous proposition when you start to talk about other projects launching tokens too. And I really do believe that Bored Apes and the Ape Coin, we've talked about this subject ad nauseum, is probably the only brand right now that's equipped to actually do that and maintain relevance and attention on it, because so often we see people try and launch tokens and there's no value, there's no utility to the token, there's no use case for it, there's no justification for it. The price of the token goes down, and then all of a sudden the underlying NFT follows with it, and you kind of killed your project potentially, right? It's all about token management at the end of the day. And
you're managing an entire economy, right? This is you get to play God, you get to play the Fed. You can make changes that can obviously tank your entire economy or do the opposite. But every effect, causes things that you may not foresee. It's the same thing in the real world, right? There are so many variables that often governments or the Fed or the people controlling these things can't see what's coming, of course. You don't know how something is going to affect everything in the world and how that butterfly effect is going to cause chaos or whatever. So, you know, you're seeing it now as an example in Raid Party, okay? Where
Romania Squid just asked us how we thought RP has been developing, and they made a pretty big change yesterday.
They did. They have now reduced the amount of time that we will get godlies to half. Before, we would get them once every 200 bosses. We'll now be getting them once every 400 bosses. And it was because the 4 godlies we had gotten in a row, and this is a random number generator. It just happened to be, you know, R2 and I played poker for a long time. These things happen. You go on streaks where it's like, how the hell did I hit 15, you know, full houses in a week, and then I can't get trips for like 10 months? Like, you just don't, you know, you go through these streaks that there's no explanation for them, but it happens, and it can cause, you know, it obviously is going to cause an imbalance in the economy. Now, that could self-correct on its own over time, but like I said, you're the Fed. You have the chance to play God. If you see a crazy imbalance occurring and you have the ability to change it, depending on depending on what you know is coming. After all, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know how the current phase plays into the next phase, but the game designers do. They have a plan. All right, they're working out their roadmap that we don't know about. So I think that means that often, like with the Orcs team, I don't think you saw them jump out and say, well, we're going to now increase the amount of Zug you need and amount of potions you need because, oh my God, there was this crazy imbalance. They said, at worst, it'll self-correct by the middle of the phase, as, you know, because really, without getting too deep, the issue right now is that there's not enough Orcs leveled up to be able to raid enough, because you can still bring in the amount of bone shards you need on a daily basis if you can send a bunch of Orcs raiding. But most people don't have enough Orcs leveled up to 280 or 300 to send them raiding. So we're in a period right now where people are just flush with potions, flush with Zug, waiting to stack these training dummies so they can actually get their Orcs up to a level where they can raid. Once that happens, I think the imbalance will have self-corrected. So you didn't see the Orcs coming out quickly and changing things, not only because of that, but also because we don't know how dungeon crawls and the next phase are playing into their game theory. Maybe they wanted this to happen to an extent, even though they did say they were caught off surprise by how much of an imbalance they were. But they're not stupid. They probably knew this was going to happen to an extent early on. So RP, on the other hand, saw a big imbalance happening and has quickly gone in and made an adjustment. And again, that's because they know what they're doing behind the scenes. And for them,
my mind is telling me that this might actually be short term too. Like, I think they just want to quell some of the short term inflation that they're seeing here. Sorry, keep going.
That was it. That was going to be my point, is that I think this team is going to, especially early on in the very first phases where the floor price on OpenSea matters, people are wondering whether they should get into this game or not. You're a lot of times in that first cycle, you're in a marketing phase. Everyone's finding out about RP. People are asking me about it every day. It looks cool. People know other people are making money, but they don't know all that type of stuff. All right. It behooves them to have a more stable economy, to have a more stable floor price that trends up on OpenSea. So they're managing it closely. They also know what's going on behind the scenes. But yeah, bottom line, we now will get the godlies, okay, which would increase your yield 100x for the 6-hour period that they would be around. We'll now be seeing them half as much. So that's an adjustment that they made. The confetti price has cooled off now from $40 to $30. But again, Raid Party is still printing right now. And with the asset prices cooling off a little bit, I'm guessing they're back in the top 2 or top 3 on yield right now. We're going to see Crypto Kermit's spreadsheet later today. So we'll see where everybody stands as well. I'm so curious to see where Orcs are at now. You know, is Zug getting back up there? Because we had Metroverse and what was the other one? Eternal Elves, who are killing it.
Yep.
I know people, you know, it's getting to a point, guys. I don't have enough time. You know, there's freaks and guilds, there's eternal elves, there's creeps, there's metro, there's NFT worlds, there's critters. I want to be in all. I actually think all of these games I just listed and Furballs all have legs. Maybe Metroverse. I know the least about it, so take that out of the list. But all those other ones, I think they're all great games. I think they all have really good teams behind them that understand tokenomics, and I'm bullish on all of them. But I'm basically in Raid Party, Critters, and EtherOrcs as my main games. I don't think I could take on much more capacity, in a sense. But yeah, I think Critters block.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say one last thing about confetti, and I know I've said it before on the show, but I mean, this was one of those situations where it looked like maybe we were about to just go like absolutely bonkers, parabolic, not sure, and you know, some of the news maybe cut it down a little bit. It's a lot of fun for the token to be like all of a sudden going from $20 to $100. Like all of a sudden your yield is through the roof. People love to do the posts about like, oh, I'm now making $700,000 a year passively, like fuck my job, blah, 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 blah. It's great. A lot of fun. What happens though, is you put this incredible pressure on most people playing the game to be like, this money is too good to pass up. I have to take it now because I don't think it's sustainable. You know, if it shot up like crazy, like we saw in like a Wolf game or something like that. Now they had a token lock, so it was a little bit different. There was a crazy supply crisis. I also think that the market is getting a little bit smarter about how to play these as well. But once, you know, if fighters all of a sudden just shot up to 2.5 ETH each, confetti was $85 each, heroes were sitting at 2 ETH, and you're looking at the value of your party and you're going, oh my God, this is worth $100,000 now. There's going to be a lot of people that are like, just fucking smash that sell button, right? It's going to go in other hands. Price is going to tank on a lot of stuff. People are entering it all the way down and going, I'm already underwater to this, blah, blah. Very, very perilous situation. Good, healthy, steady growth over the long term is what these games need to aim for. I think Raid Party hit the brakes a little bit. I think EtherOrcs has been second to none managing that the entire time. And we're going on, 6 months now. And so, you know, proceed with caution about how much you want these things to go parabolic when you're looking at it. Moving on to Critters block, you know, we've talked a lot about Critters in the past. We haven't brought it up a lot, but they are still trucking along. The floor is still great. Block price has definitely gone down a little bit, but I know that team is working their ass off because they're constantly putting updates out there, and they've been teasing at something relatively big too. I didn't realize this, but they've actually been developing, I think, their own proprietary sharding solutions in Minecraft to be able to scale, which is actually really quite important as well, because so I mean, like this is a team that is building something fundamentally important to their ecosystem. Block not doing super great, but this is a game where supplies can be very, very tight. There's not a lot of things listed, and you know, once you see an influencer jump into it, or Becker tweets about it or something like that, I think the plots are almost fully minted out now too. We're going to see some things tighten up. Block is also going to be capped at some point too. Now they're going to have to figure out how to manage that economy such that there's plenty of utility and mechanisms for Block to continue to use. But I wouldn't be worried about it. Again, this was January that it minted in. Yeah, it was a while ago. And there's
it was still last week of December, but
yeah, that's right. They're still there. There's still tons of people playing that game. There's still use case for Block. There's still people buying it. And the fact that it's still at 8 cents, maybe the daily yield for you playing isn't as good as it used to be, or I can, you know, safely say it's definitely not as good as it used to be. But if you enjoy playing Minecraft and you enjoy that community that they've built, and you've enjoyed what you've built in there, you are still earning something to be playing a game that presumably you actually like to play. And that's good, because eventually that token will catch up if they manage it properly and don't have like crazy inflation mechanisms that are put into place, which I don't think Critters is going to do. So I haven't been playing it as much personally. I've plenty of other stuff for me to be keeping busy with, but I haven't sold anything in a while to do with critters. So I mean, I'm still very excited about it. And if you want to talk about those kind of games, NFT Worlds, obviously number one. Critters, I think they're going to have a really, really, really good run.
Yeah, I do think to myself every day whether I would sell a critters for an RP. I like the diversification, and I do think critters can be very big. So.
I thought about it too, yeah, but I just like I have I now feel myself having long-term conviction, having held it since December till now. It's still doing very well, and owning that stuff kind of causes you to keep tabs on the project too, right? And you check in, you see what they're doing. They're always doing something. So as much as like the short-term yield and RP would probably be very good and maybe even profitable, I do think that Critters is just going to have that one day where all of a sudden it just goes straight to like a 3-4 ETH floor just because the supply is so tight on them and might not come back. My personal feeling.
No. That's the only, it's amazing to me how there are constant sweeps in Critters and then constant supply shows up. It's just always, I don't know if it's people who get bored with the game or I don't know. Who knows?
I think maybe the renting yield is down. And so maybe if that was your play, maybe it's, you could look for better things elsewhere. If it was less of a belief in Critters, the project, and more of a belief of a constant influx of liquidity, maybe that is. And I could see why that would tie it to the price. I want that Critters asset as just a hedge in that world.
I just want $100 confetti. Is that too much to ask, Lord?
For today, yes, I would say so. But eventually, I wouldn't take it off the table. Who knows? Cool. Let's throw some music on. A couple things dropping today. I am going to put the link into the Room Lounge chat if anyone wants to come hang out. If I haven't done it already, I don't remember if I did it. I did. It's there. Dropping today, we have Kiwami, which is another anime-inspired project. It's like almost a mashup between Azuki's side-facing profile picture and Muri's, kind of diagonally facing one. It's got a bit of both. I gotta say, I see a lot of people excited for this. I'm still trying to think of it if it's just some leftovers from Muri and Azuki, people looking for exposure to it. But the anime trend is I don't even call it a trend. It just seems to be ever existent, and some of these end up doing really well. Definitely. Oh, I thought I had it up on the screen. My apologies. I gotta say, like, I think the art on Azuki and Muri's is probably a little bit cleaner and more refined from what I've seen, but I am digging the colors. They're at least bright. And as you put it, yes, somebody turned the light on them. And yeah, so that's going to be minting. Maybe if you want a bear case on it, they are doing a Dutch auction. It's not the most aggressive Dutch auction we've ever seen. It is starting at 0.5 ETH, still pretty high. Going down by 0.05 every 3 minutes to a 0.1 ETH floor. I do not expect these to be minting out at 0.5, but if you like participating in Dutch auctions and see some validity in this project, go check it out. That's going down at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. You see the art on these? You check them out? Just from what I pulled up? I think, I mean, if you like it and you like that style of stuff, it's pretty clean. I think the variety on them could be pretty good. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Some other stuff that went down. Ad Runners, which is a project that I guess some people were looking at. It's going pre-sales at 2 and public sales at 8 today, Eastern time, of course. One of their, I guess now former employees has taken to LinkedIn and been posting about how it's a full-on rug pull. It's hard. There's a lot of he said, she said, but this is like an actual, it seems to be a doxed personality hired on LinkedIn to work with them. He posted 3 weeks ago, happy to share that I'm starting a new position as Chief Marketing Officer at AdRunner. We're hiring. 3 weeks have gone by, and then he posted back there that he's going to be releasing a detailed expose about what he's uncovered, and is personally happy to respond to any messages. But essentially, it seems like they are fully like doing like false advertising and coordinating a rug pull. And they have no intention of carrying on with this project. So if you were looking at ad runners, at the very least, I would proceed with caution. You know, there's some writing on the wall there. It's funny seeing people operate on LinkedIn, though.
Yes.
I'd never honestly seen too much about these to begin with, though.
Nope. Interesting.
Want to become famous? No, you are blocked. There we go. See ya. Oh, man. What do you got going on today, free market?
There is a fabulous morning squeeze planned for noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It is music themed. We're going to have a bunch of NFT creators on who are from the music industry. Some really big surprises. I think people should tune in. Also, tonight, we are going to do our Orcs community spaces. So you heard me nerd out on Orcs a little bit here. If you'd like to go deeper into what the ramifications of the new LP rewards are, how the rogue minting is going, then yeah, hop in, tune in, and that'll be on Spaces at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. So looking forward to that. And that'll be with Maz. So shout out to Maz. We are going to host that. I would say the other thing that I am watching closely is Bape, as now the Bathing Ape clothing streetwear brand has moved into NFTs in a big way with their debut yesterday, which I think got mixed reviews on the potential art, but I don't think that matters because this is a utility play. And if you are into Bape and their fashion, I think you really, really wanted this NFT. They were on the secondary, I think at 0.4 yesterday. They're sitting at about 0.81 right now. Really good looking double there if you got in on it. And Reveal, let me check. Did Reveal happen or was it later today? I was telling them, R2, about Bapes. I don't know if you saw the Bapes, but Bape did a drop. I'm going to check in on the Bape Diverse.
Yeah, I actually have it pulled up. Sorry, I was muted there. And I was going to kind of talk about it on the tail end of the show just because it is in pre-reveal. But it's, yeah.
Right. I think it reveals today, doesn't it?
That I'm having a hard time remembering. I found it. The one thing that I maybe had a hard time with is I tried to get in the Discord and it's locked during like the minting and all of that process, which is fine and understandable. I get that things are doing that. I had a hard time getting clear information on it. Like the Twitter, all that stuff was not as informative as I like. But I believe it was a 0.3 mint. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So sitting at 0.74, I'll refresh the floor and it'll go down. Oh no, it went up. Look at that.
I don't own it, so.
No, I don't either.
That would explain. What? No, but that would explain your
my
refresh.
Refreshing. Yeah. If this was a little bit lower, I think I would almost be inclined to take a flyer on it, only because it's Bape. You know.
Well, that's why people got to tune in to Out of Pocket Entertainment. All right, because Driz called those at 0.4 on the secondary, begging people to buy. They didn't know Bape. Shout out Driz, Out of Pocket.
Yeah, I mean we've seen this come up a few times, people mentioning it and stuff like that. I gotta say, like I'm not a huge fan of the art on them, but again, sometimes these things can be pleasantly surprising too when you throw them all on the floor.
Let's understand that the art doesn't matter. Let us read the description here. Okay. It's a virtual universe where Bape fam gets together to elevate the purpose of collectibles to a new level. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever on that. Let's look at the last sentence. These unique, high-quality 3D design NFTs will help members to unlock future exclusive perks, drops, raffles, content, and more. That's the only line that matters in this entire sentence. This is Bape. This is a real world fashion brand. That's why people are buying these. Just like that Adidas NFT looks shit. I don't even know what that thing is, but nobody cares. Gets you access to stuff. People like stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Is that I'm not a big fan of the art, but I'm not sure that it really matters in this particular instance, right? Because it is all about the Bape and the exposure to said Bape product. I want one of those hoodies. I've never owned a Bape hoodie. They look ugly.
I do.
Holy fuck yeah.
I do not. I don't. I do not want one, nor do I own one.
This is like a really like perilous price point for me too here. Like I just don't. I was having a hard time talking myself into buying at 0.75. If I had been awake and around for the 0.4, I think I probably would have grabbed one because that seems like a good upside bet there.
Mm-hmm.
Trippy Toads, I've not. You love stuff. Trippy Toads have not talked about. Saw some people talking about that in the DGen Dojo, but I did miss it. EtherOrcs a mint that's coming up on the 26th, though I believe that's the Saturday that we could look into as well. Anime style, kind of. It's like mecha in cartoon form. Some of the sneak peeks look really good. Some of them are all right, but this seems to have a lot of hype behind it and a lot of excitement. Kind of harkening back to some of those 90s style, maybe like Gundam Wing style animes. So I'm gonna look into that and talk a little bit more about it maybe tomorrow or Friday. Friday seems like a good time before the mint. I think this one's doing a Dutch auction as well. Starting at 0.3 though. Lemons had a little bit of a push yesterday too. Feel good about that. It was
nice.
Yeah. What are we up to now? I saw it hit 0.3.
Yeah.
0.278. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Shit. That's good. Let's scroll through the tabs here, see if I missed anything. Nah, I think that's about it, man. I think that's about it. Did you guys manage to see Treasure DAO related projects or only ETH?
Is Treasure DAO back up and operational? Every time I log on to the thing to look at my swolls, it was like we're fixing some exploit thing or something like that. So yeah, I'm waiting for EtherOrcs and
yeah, it feels like I've been in that Discord forever.
I will. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if Treasure works. I just don't know. Someone has to tell me in the DGen Dojo. Maybe you could let me know.
Yeah, it's hard enough to keep up with all that stuff. I know that they are quite a robust ecosystem now.
Mm-hmm.
If it's one of those, if you know, you know. If you're in it, you're like in it. So
yeah,
I gotta.
Harvest Priest.
You know a little bit about Freaks and Guilds too. That was one that I wanted to do my own research on. I've seen people talk about that and the game behind it and whatnot. Are you you in or are you just seen it?
Oh, no, I think Eternal Elves and Freaks and Guilds are both winners. Winners.
Yeah, Trippy Toads. Sit at a 0.1 floor pre-reveal. All right, my man. We're sitting at about an hour and a half. You got your spaces, your lemon squeeze coming up at noon. I think you kind of outlined what's going on there. Very exciting. I'm going to probably have some time to tune into it, actually. I'm going to be out running some errands and picking up some stuff. But always love tuning in when I throw the earbud in and I'm driving around.
Nice.
Should be exciting to listen to that. And yeah, good little Wednesday show. Again, it's fucking Bored Apes world, man. We're just living in it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Close this
Apes
up.
to the moon.
Yeah, it's programmed pretty much there. Oh, all right, guys.
I said, "Ugh."
Why?
The chart.
Oh, the chart just pulled off. Anything that I pull up on my screen is not doing you any favors, so I'll just close that right now. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Of course, if you came in late, we talked about maybe some really bullish situations setting up on the crypto and S&P charts, and heading into some really exciting times with the hopefully seasonal bullish nature coming around the corner. Talked about a little bit about the crypto bill that might get passed. It's very favorable for us. Crypto.com is the sponsor, or one of the sponsors of the World Cup. Talked a lot about A16Z and their involvement in the fundraising round with Yuga Labs. They raised $450 million, not a small number at all, and the list of investors is absolutely crazy. Went over some EtherOrcs and Raid Party P2E stuff. That's the exciting part of this market right now. It seems to be the P2E yields. And then we talked a little bit about the drops. Kiwami's coming up today. Ad Runner maybe has some big red flags, and Vape is in pre-reveal right now, but doing A-OK at about 0.75 ETH. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back on tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. As always, free market.
Good luck at the tables, DJ.